Yeah, I want to just before we start, we've been working on this, but we today officially hired Virgil Green as our tight end coach. So that was a thing we've been working on with him, and moved Derek Sage to quarterbacks, which is where a coordinator should be coordinating from. That'll help the quarterbacks understand the game plan. And we also brought Carson Strong back in just a student volunteer role to get him back in the program. He's a Wolfpack guy. He's in town. He's got a lot of knowledge of this program. So those adjustments we made over the weekend, and we're ready to go forward. He's going to help out with the offense, non-designated role right now, but get him back in the office, helping us out, using his knowledge of the quarterback position, running back position, the offensive alignment, working with the young players. So to have him back from his era, some really good games there, some quality players, having him back with Virgil, Vi, Mike Bethay, those guys, I think is very beneficial to the young players on our team.
Virgil's obviously been on staff in a little different role, but what do you hope to get from him now that he works on with guys?
Yeah, well, obviously he's one of the best tight ends, if not the best tight end to ever play here. He's got 11 years of NFL experience. He's been in the building. A lot of the tight ends, a lot of the players on our team go to him for a lot of different things, mentorship, how to be a professional, how to get to the NFL. I think he can bring all of that knowledge. He's around the office all the time. He knows Derek and he knows the offense. And when Nate made a life decision to get out of coaching and move back to Oregon, that opened up a position for Virgil, and we just had to do all the paperwork and stuff there for that. So I'm really excited to have him, his maturity, his mentorship, his love of this university, his Super Bowl history when he goes on the road recruiting. He's a Valley recruiter, which is where he's from. That with that area, everyone knows him from that area. So there's a lot of benefit to having Virgil in our program.
Is that something you envision long term to kind of fill the gap this year?
It's long term. That was the conversations that we had the whole time, was that he thought about it with Marianne, the family, and he's moved back here obviously when he got done with his career, and it's something that he thought about for a few days and pictured, and had a couple of players talk to him. He came in and he met me at the office at 5 a.m. and said 5 a.m. over the weekend, a couple of days before the weekend, and said, "I'm all in. I'm ready to go. Let's do this for a long time." And I'm like, "Go get in your office, start working." So he's been unbelievable.
What was the players' reaction to Carson coming back, as a lot of these guys are on the same team with him?
Yeah, I think there's not quite as many on the team as you would think. There's not many left from when Carson was here, but there's a few. And Tyson Williams is on our staff now as a graduate assistant. Gabe Sewell's on our staff as a graduate assistant. So we've got guys from that era, and to have him and his family and being able to raise his daughter in Reno and his wife here, I thought was just he wants to be a coach, and we were certainly open to letting him start getting involved with our program and see if in the future we can work into, I don't know, he just graduated, so he's still in the graduate assistant window, he's still in the analyst window. There's a lot of things that Carson could do in the future if we get this thing all going. So I'm all about bringing back guys that have a Wolfpack credentials, really good Wolfpack credentials, and have high respect in this program, this community.
Coach, how does one prep for a quarterback like Caleb Williams?
Yeah, so our first 4 games have really good quarterbacks in them, and obviously we want to start out with the top of the best there. And we have some quarterbacks in our program that can move around, improvise, throw the ball on the move. Obviously, they're not Heisman Trophy winners, but we have a better chance now to practice those types of plays. And the things that Caleb's done, we faced him my last year at Oregon in the Alamo Bowl, and he had a really good game for Oklahoma. And there's a lot of similarities to the offenses that we saw in that game, and he just does things and sees things and maneuvers in ways that other quarterbacks just don't see. Saturday night they had a busted play, dropped a snap, and all that chaos of people trying to go pick up the fumble that was at his feet. He had the presence to pick it up and see an open receiver and throw a 70-yard touchdown pass. So that's hard to prepare for. He's obviously the Heisman Trophy winner, but we've got a plan, and I'm sure a lot of people that go on against him have plans, and we've got to execute it really, really well to keep him not contained, but keep him in front of us.
Williams aside, what else stood out to you when you were watching that game against San Jose State with the Trojans?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the thing that teams can stay in there a little bit and fight with them a little bit, and then all of a sudden you get a long punt return or a kickoff return by a freshman 5-star guy. All of a sudden he shows up and returns a kickoff for a touchdown, and Caleb drops a snap and throws for a touchdown. All of a sudden it's 35-7, and then to beat a team of that quality and that character and with that kind of plan, with that coaching staff, you have to be perfect and you have to be right, and you can't make mistakes, and you've got to get takeaways. And there's a lot of things that we've been practicing now for all of our games, but obviously coming out the gate against a team like this, number 6 team or better in the country, you've got to be really good at a lot of things.
So you've had some success playing against USC during your time at Oregon, Washington State. What are you trying to tell your guys about playing in the Coliseum, that type of environment?
Yeah, so we've got a lot of players that have played in the Coliseum that we've brought in here, and we've got coaches that have been in the Coliseum, and that has to be somewhat of an advantage to having that, but still it's the Coliseum, it's the first game, it's this team walking down that ramp, and we're going to lean on the guys that have been in there, and at the end of the day, you're going to go in and you're going to warm up and you're going to go back to the locker room and you're going to go out and you're going to coin flip, and the game is going to be played. And our job is to focus in on the game and the plays and each individual play, and not all the stuff that's around it. And that's easier said than done, but that's a preparation that we've been talking about for some 30 days now with these guys, and how the people call it a challenge. We call it an opportunity. Not many people get the opportunity to go into a situation like that. And, I just talked to the players the other day about when you were little and you were in your backyard or you were on the playground and you closed your eyes and you wanted to make that play to win the big game or make that tackle or catch that pass. Here's the opportunity. So dream about it until we get down there Friday night, and let's go out Saturday and play football. Yeah, we will start Brennan Lewis in the game Saturday. Brennan's had a really good spring. He came out of spring. He's a guy that started 14 games in the Pac-12 in Autzen Stadium and the Coliseum and Folsom Field, and he's been in those kind of games. He's played in bowl games, and it was a really good competition. I think a healthy Shane Illingworth was good in fall camp, and A.J. Bianco we think has a bright future. And those three really battled. I think Jax Leatherwood's got a lot of talent. It's going to take him a while. He's got to get bigger, faster, stronger for a 6'8" guy. But they had a really good battle. They've been great teammates. They've all thrown it out there, and we just made a staff decision that practice by practice, since the day he's been here, Brendan has taken the leadership role. He was voted unanimously a team captain by his teammates, and we just think it's at this moment in time that Brendan gives us the best chance to win football games. So a little bit different than last year when we didn't know what we had. We've seen these guys for a year now, so we feel really good about that decision, and I think the guys behind him will keep pushing him, and that makes the whole room better. So I think that's that's an exciting time for those guys in that room, and Coach Sage taking them over and going forward.
You kind of mentioned a couple things, but what really separated him where he was the clear-cut starter and the best of that group?
Yeah, so he can throw the ball. He's got a maturity about him. He's got a presence about him. The players, a couple of those guys do, but he's really got a leadership quality. He can get you first downs with his feet. When a pocket breaks down, and he's smart enough to get down or get out of bounds and save his hits, which is part of the learning process of young quarterbacks. If you watch Caleb, you don't see Caleb Williams get hit very often. He knows when to get out of bounds, he knows when to slide, and he knows when to take off and run with it. And I think Brennan's got some of that from being in those games, and he knows where to get the ball. He knows when to distribute it. He knows when to get it out of his hands. And he's got a really good relationship with some of our new skill guys. They've worked together all summer. So we just think he gave us just a little bit of an edge going into this season, and he's going to take the ball and run with it.
Are you able to call plays differently and execute your offense differently with his mobility compared to last year's quarterback?
I think that's part of it, and being able to make the O-line right when something starts to break down. He can get out and get a 4-yard gain instead of taking an 8-yard sack, or he can pull the ball if the read's there, and he can take it for 15 yards. And AJ's got some of that in him, and Shane, obviously healthy, is running better this year. He doesn't have a bad hamstring like he did last year, but Brennan's he's got that if there's a B gap open and the pass rush is on him, he can duck out of there and slide down it with a 5 or 6 yard gain, get you first down, keep the clock running. And we didn't have a lot of that last year. If we couldn't get the first down right away, we were putting the punt team on the field. So, he's got to get the ball out of his hand at times. He's got to run with it at times. He's got to read our zone read stuff. And I think it's what he did. It's what he does. It's how he's made his living. And he would tell you he's not a running quarterback, but he can run, and that's what I like about him. He also can throw it. So I think it'll be a good night for him Saturday to get out there on the field and lead his team.
Coach, you said at the end of the spring game that you didn't want the first game of the season to be the first time your team faces adversity. Has there been points over the last 4 or 5 months where your team has faced that adversity and feels better prepared for this game?
Yeah, we put them. We have periods in every practice where we put them in adverse situations. We've done 2-minute drills, 4-minute drills, 10 seconds to go, the ball's at the 20-yard line going in, and the quarterback has no timeouts. And what are we going to do? We're going to take a shot at the goal line, or we got to mayday our field goal team on the field. We've done all those situations. I challenge my staff all the time, like if we haven't practiced it, bring it to me. Let's figure a way to, in the middle of practice, put the field goal kickers with all 100 guys around them, step away from them, make them make 5 straight kicks. Just anything that we can do that can put them under stress and in those situations. So when it happens in the game, they may not be perfect, but they've been in that situation in their heads and on the field before, with the clock running and coaches yelling and everything else. And hopefully we've done every situation. Certainly there's always adversity in football games, and we've got to read on the move, and that's where coaches have to take over and keep that thing calm. But we've got a big emphasis on game situations and putting both sides of the ball and our special teams in those situations, and be ready for a game on Saturday. Obviously, USC, that's one thing. When you have 0 week, you have the advantage of cleaning up mistakes. But on the other side, you also haven't seen the team that you're going to play. So it's kind of, when you're in these early season games, there's all different scenarios there. What's coaching staff has changed, who are the new guys, and there's a little bit of surprise, and then there's also a little bit of you get a chance to fix the stuff that you messed up in the first game and make a big improvement into your second game. So you got to look at all that stuff when you're getting a preparation together for your practice week. That's kind of what we've been in.
Is there an advantage one way or another, this being their second game, this being your first game? Is there a preference there?
I mean, I think if you've had a game and the next team you're playing hasn't changed a lot of staff or personnel, I think you get a little bit of an advantage there because you can clean up a lot of stuff going in your second game. If the second team you've never played before, you don't know the staff, you don't know the scheme, that balances out. So I think, with what USC does there's no surprise. They do what they do, and they're really, really good at it. And from our standpoint, our coordinators are back. They're the same. So, I don't think they're probably worried too much about us surprising them with anything. So I think they're probably cleaning up the little things. They certainly got a chance to look at a lot of different players and make those adjustments. And, we got a chance to look at them and watch the game closely and see a lot of really good players that we didn't necessarily know about until we saw them on Saturday evening down there. So it's kind of, if you're whichever side you're on, it probably you can turn into an advantage or a disadvantage.
One of those new players, Zachariah Brandt, was a in-state kid at Gorman.
Yeah.
What do you remember about him? Just seeing him play at the high school level and then making such a big impact in his first college game.
Yeah, I remember him and his brother. They're really highly recruited. They're both there at USC. I think most of the country recruited them when I was up at Oregon, and then just watching them, that you see all the talent and everything. I think that they've got a really dynamic guy. Ray Leak Brown that is also in that position is also a really dynamic guy from Mater Dei. So, they've got some guys there, but obviously his special teams. Saturday night changed that game. Those 2 punt returns and the kickoff return, which was not blocked correctly, but he just made a play with his feet and made 3 or 4 or 5 guys miss. That's special, and that's special when you're a freshman and you have that big an impact on a game as a true freshman. That's a lot of talent right there. So we certainly you can't. There's so many bodies out there. You can't. Specifically when you got the Heisman Trophy winner and you've got him and you've got Ray Leak and you've got Singer and you've got all the guys that they've got. You certainly can't pick on one, but you better know where number one is, especially on special teams right now, because he's a game changer when he gets the ball in his hands. So, we knew about him. We just didn't expect to see that the first game out. I think AJ is our number 2 right now, and Shane's number 3, just going into the season. But it's very, it could change. It's very close at those 2 positions behind, and those guys both prepare like the backup, and probably they prepare like the starter. So they're all really really mature guys, and AJ's got the swagger of a senior, which I always like about him. Nothing really shakes him. So wouldn't be surprised or anything. If anything happened, knock on wood, to Brennan, I would have no problem putting A.J. Bianco out on the field. He's got a swagger that most freshmen don't play with. So we're excited to have him in the backup role there. So, but yeah, that's close. But that'll be the order that we have right now on the depth chart.
How much familiarity do you have with what USC does on defense? Just looking through their staff, like half the staff was with you at Washington State at one point or another.
Yeah, I don't think there's any secrets on those 2 defenses that are going to play Saturday night. Their D coordinator and I are very, very close friends. We work together. One of their linebacker coach and I worked together at Washington State. Their linebacker quality control guy was my middle linebacker for 5 years at Washington State. Roy Manning, their outside backer coach, one of my best friends. So there's not a lot. Their chief of staff was with us for 7 years at Washington State. So I don't think there's a lot of stuff on that side of the ball. And quite frankly, on the offense, Dennis Simmons, their wide receiver coach, with us at Washington State. So there's a lot of bodies on that sideline that I've worked with, care a lot about, and it'll be very, very fun to compete against those guys and see them. But yeah, the defenses, I think probably they're worried about their signals and all that, because we have the same signals, or we remember those signals from back in the day.
If you win, will you make a Coach Manning-like video?
Oof, Coach Manning got the best videos. I would not even attempt to do Coach Manning's videos. I was always upset I never got to be in one with him. Yeah, you had to be special to be in one of his videos.
Outside of quarterback, is there a position on USC's roster that really does stand out as like one of the best in the nation?
Well, they have so much skill at wide receiver. They bring in so many different guys at wide receiver. They've got the 3 running backs that played the other night, the transfer that came in, plus the other 2. On that side of the ball, they're breaking in some new kickers. That was we got to see that. And, on the defensive side of the ball, they've got some really good edge rushers, and they've got some. Their secondary is really, really talented group of guys. But I think they're a little bit more in flux at those positions. They're still trying to find. They played so many players that it's hard to pencil out there. You just keep seeing, who caught that ball, who made that tackle, who was that linebacker. I think the two linebackers that they brought in, the young, the number 25 Curtis and the linebacker they brought in from Oklahoma State are very active guys. So, they're one of the best teams in the country. There's not a position where you're not looking at it and being impressed by somebody that they have at those positions. So it'll be quite a challenge to get in there and see them play in person, be out on the field with them.
At running back, you guys last year, a lot of it was Toa, especially when Devontae got hurt. I guess how do you see the carries shaping out?
Yeah.
You brought in Sean, you brought in Ashton.
They're kind of different guys. It'll just depend on the game situation. We use Jamal Bell back there some too, and Wes Comer's back in there. That Cross Patton's got a packages that he's in. So I think Derek and those guys and Vi they'll use him. Sean will go out there first. Sean's earned that right through practice being the number one. But there's a lot of different situations, and we use two back. We use those guys in slot receiver positions. I think that's one of the things that Derek and our offensive staff have done a lot of work with from last season to this season to be able to use guys, know what they have, use them in certain packages, and even with the big tight ends that we have now to be able to spread them out and do a lot of those different things that really have given us a challenge in practice, and it'll be fun to see them out doing it in a game situation.
There's not much bigger stages in the Coliseum in college football. So I guess what do you want your guys to get out of this experience of going into that game? Obviously, as a big underdog and trying to play their best.
Yeah, I want them to play well. I want to go in there. I want to play hard. I want to not have mistakes. Keep the penalties down. Do what we do in practice. Do what we preach. Get takeaways on defense and don't give up the ball on offense, and keep the offense on the field and make plays and come out of there knowing that we were sound, that we played well, and if we do all those things, we tackle well, we get some takeaways. You get into a second half situation there. You don't know what's going to shake out. You just play the game until we play each play, and at the end of the game we look up at the scoreboard, and if we did all those things, it'll probably be a good night for us. How that scoreboard looks, I don't know, but that's what we're trying to do: play clean football and play really hard and come out of there knowing that we're on the right track. So that's what we're looking at once we kick the ball off.
I know with COVID, the COVID season is a little bit fuzzy, but it seems like 3 of your 4 captains are sophomores in terms of the remaining eligibility. It's fairly unique. What do you think of the captains that were selected for your team?
Yeah, so when we didn't have a chance. We went by game last year because we didn't know the team well enough to say the guys could be captain. We liked some of those guys, but we didn't know. We didn't have a feel for our team. We've had this team for a year, and we let the whole team make the picks: 2 offense, 2 defense. We do a special teams captain by week that we will pick, that will go out with that group. But and then at the end, we usually, when we've done this, then the coaches get a vote, and then we pick the captains. But the picks were so we were so proud of our team for the guys that they picked, and we didn't even look at age. We were just like, that's who they picked. The coaches didn't even vote. We just took what the players gave us. We said, boom, here's our leadership council, here's our captains. You guys did a great job. They really took it seriously. It wasn't, sometimes you get into, he's the guy that's most liked or whatever. They really took it seriously, and we waited until the night before the mock scrimmage before we voted, because we wanted the young guys, we wanted everybody to feel who the leaders were, who the guys that were doing extra, who the guys were watching film. And then we said, you guys pick the best people that you think should be the leaders of this football team. And sometimes it's interesting when you look at those lists, it's not the guys that are most vocal on the field that the players think are the leaders, because those are the guys that are really leading in the locker room and stuff. So we're happy with that. And, yeah, with the COVID year and everything, I have a hard time even figuring out who are freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors with all the, 26, 27-year-old college athletes now. But so we just throw it out there and you pick the best players. And I thought they did a really good job of picking captains. There were some guys that have been here, some guys just got here. So they got some old linemen in there. Like they did a good job really looking at our team and going, these are the guys who want to walk out and represent us on the football field. So we're happy with it. We didn't even vote. We just gave them what they voted for, they got.
When you look at your true freshman class, is there anybody or a few players who you feel like could play this year, or is it still too early to tell?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of those wide receivers I think could play this year. The two young offensive linemen are in the two deep. Ruffins and Timoteo are both in the two deep. They're going to be really good players. But Brown and Burleson both have some ability. Marshawn's gotten quite a bit of run, as big and fast as he is. He's playing quite a bit. A lot of the junior college guys and some of those guys are getting reps in there. On the defensive side of the ball, we have more bodies and more guys that have played, so I think some of the freshmen are a little bit farther back on that side of the ball. But on the offensive side of the ball, there's 4 or 5 of those guys that'll be there. I think there's a couple of DBs that may be on special teams and work in as the season goes along. But they can play in 4 games without burning a year of eligibility. So a lot of those guys will try to mix in early, see what they look like, and like we did with Smalley last year. And then last year we had Stone Coombs and Smalley both playing early, and we decided we were good at linebacker. We didn't want to waste Stone's year, so we redshirted him, but Chris played the whole year. So those kind of guys always pop up as you go. But I think Marshawn and the 2 old linemen could probably play in the game and may play quite a bit Saturday night. So.
The new locker room, I don't know that you've talked about that publicly, but you've probably seen a variety of locker rooms at Nevada during your tenures here. I guess, what does it say to you, the investment that went into that locker room and the community kind of supporting that project to get done?
Yeah, I mean, when you walk in our weight room and our locker room now, the offices upstairs, all the things they're cleaning up, the ITS field out there. I think that when I was offered this job, all the things that the president of this university had committed to at that time and the athletic department, they've come through with all that stuff. And our players were nomads for 6-7 months, changing in swim locker rooms, and they never complained, and they were so happy when they walked into that locker room with bigger lockers, good seats, a new shower room, new restrooms, the barber chair, the televisions, the audio system. All the stuff was something that they've been waiting for a long time around here, and they're taking great care of it. And it just shows the commitment that a lot of people put in, a lot of boosters, ex-players, administration, a lot of people put in to help us get to start making improvements in the infrastructure around here to help the program, as well as our nutrition budget, everything. We have been given the tools to really build a program, and that's what we're looking forward to now, right, is to keep that progress going forward.
You don't seem to have too complicated of a haircut, but would you trust anyone to cut your hair in that barber?
Yeah, every time I go in there, I see people cutting other people's hair, and I have yet to sit down in a chair in there, so I'm a little worried about that. So.
As a head coach, just how have you kind of kept the team focused and not let the distractions of the multiple coaching changes get away the last?
Yeah, I think players are resilient. They're really resilient, and they just roll. So it's probably more infrastructure and inner workings of how you run the program, who's responsible for what, and there's a lot of coaches on our staff that have been special teams coordinators or been other position coaches that, my staff is a young, energetic, high intensity group of guys, and they just roll. Sometimes I'm even like, holy crud, what just happened? They're like, hey, let's go, like we're rolling, like change the locker, new nameplate, let's get out. Like, here go, Virg, let's go. It's been, but the players, they just play. They're just trying to get ready for a football game, and their next thing is worried about what's for dinner tonight around here. And what time's practice in the morning. That's all they care about, and they trust each other, and I think they trust Virgil and all the guys around that office now, and it's a whole different. It's a whole different vibe in the building as far as the trust of the players and coaches and the whole community that we've built in there. So, that's got to pay benefits as you go through a hard, adverse situation when you get into the football season. So, but the players, they're the least of my worry, man. They just roll. They don't even blink on that stuff. I appreciate you guys.